And these red cards are costing them.
Yeah, it's definitely, of course, we saw the same, didn't we, when they took on Manchester United as well. Enzo Maresca, again, you question what substitutions he made in response to that red card as Brighton go to the bridge and take all 3 points. And Shaka, we've seen these sort of performances from Chelsea, and they are so concerning if I'm a fan, because you just know that Chelsea have these sort of performances within them. And I know they were down to 10 men, but even before then, Brighton grew into this game.
I thought, certainly in the first half, when it was 11v11, Chelsea were in total control. I mentioned down the right-hand side, between Estevao and Reece James, I thought they combined wonderfully well. And really, you didn't see anything but a Chelsea win, especially once Enzo Fernandez scores that opener, and you feel they go on to build on that. But then second half starts, and Chelsea make mistakes at the back, and it cost them. And from there on in, I'll be honest, I was surprised that it took Brighton as long as it did to kind of break the deadlock, because they were so much better, and understandably so. It's 11v10, and Chelsea held out for as long as they could. But once they did, I thought Brighton took all the momentum to it, and Chelsea simply did not have a response. And while I was so full of praise for Chelsea going forward and the right-hand side and how they were able to control the game in midfield, there was anything but in the second half. And it really was a backs to the wall. Let's just hold on here as best we can, even at 1-1. Let's just hold on here as best we can. And ultimately, you have to say, it's a fair result.
But they've not figured out, Chelsea, and they should be better than this. They've not figured out, when they've lost a man, how to be tough to beat.
There's that soft belly about them, isn't there?
And people might say, well, 10v11. Listen, we've all done it. We used to do it in training. Sometimes the manager would mix the numbers up in training and say, go and break them down. You can still be difficult to beat. You're going to lose something offensively going forward. Of course you are. You're going to lose that easy possession. But you have to learn in adversity how to grind out a result. We saw it at United last week. The manager had a panic up.
Yes.
An absolute panic up. He was like, subs. And then Cole Palmer get injured. He had to take him off as well. They have to learn, if they're going to make bad decisions, how to sort of galvanise themselves and try and nick a result. The 2 games they've lost men to red card, 2 games in a row, they've just absolutely folded and been too easy to beat. And as you mentioned, Liverpool are coming up. I don't know, what Liverpool side are going to pitch up. But this is a Chelsea side that got, and Chelsea supporters, who got carried away with this powder puff Club World Cup nonsense. Absolute nonsense, right? This here is their bread and butter. This here is what will define their manager. The Premier League. So you can forget all that World Club Champions nonsense and all that. This is the crux of how their season will be defined and whether he will remain in a job. And at the moment, the early signs are they are creaking and cracking under the pressure.
Is that harsh, Tom, considering they were down to 10 men? Do we not just turn the page and see what happens next week?
No, because what I'm seeing from Chelsea and what I was listening to on the phone-ins and most of the callers that I was listening to were spot on. Enzo Maresca can't manage the substitutions. They're furious at the likes of Neto coming off last week. When you go down to 10 men, Dan, it's pretty simple. You want ball carriers on the pitch. You want your quickest player on the pitch. He took Neto off last week, done exactly the same today for Lavia. Estevao then comes off, and Chelsea fans are thinking, like, what we're doing? We're trying to hang on to a 1-0. I think it was 1-0 at a time, then 1-1. We're trying to hang on at home. You know, they're a young side, but we can't keep saying they're a young side. At some point, they're going to need managing from Maresca. All these young players now have got to find some maturity to manage themselves and see a game through and know what to do on a football pitch. We've all played the game where you can't just lean on your manager all of the time. You can't go to a manual on 35 minutes or 40 minutes and say, right, what do we do in the manual? You've got to manage the game. We've all managed games just before half-time when you've gone to a different system on the pitch, or we've pulled front men in to be more defensive to try and get us through to half-time to allow a manager then to deliver his team talk. I'm not seeing it from the players. They haven't got the maturity. And in all honesty, the substitutions that Maresca's been making have been baffling.
I think that to that point as well, I question whether Chelsea have the personnel to play with 10 men. And I say that, I look at João Pedro, and I can't help but compare Chelsea now to Chelsea in my day with a Didier Drogba. with 10 men, you could just put the ball up in the air and Drogba will take it, will bring it down, he'll keep hold of it, he'll bring other players into the game. João Pedro's not that kind of player. He wants to run in behind defenses. So when you're pinned back, he gets drawn in because he wants to run by defense. And so Chelsea don't have that out ball. And as a result, they just have to sit and absorb as much pressure as clearly they did. So they don't have that personnel either. So which again kind of adds to why they're as poor as they are with 10 men.
Right then, Blues, we need to have a serious conversation about what's happening at Stamford Bridge, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Last night's defeat to Brighton wasn't just another loss. It was a masterclass in how not to manage a football match when you're down to 10 men, and honestly, Craig Burley's absolutely spot on with his assessment. Look, we started brilliantly against the Seagulls. That first half was vintage Chelsea, Reece James and Estevao, combining beautifully down the right, Enzo Fernandez nodding home to give us the lead. We were in total control, weren't we? Brighton couldn't get a sniff. But football's a 90-minute game, and what happened after Trevoh Chalobah saw red in the 53rd minute was nothing short of a tactical disaster. Now, before we dive deeper, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right now and ring the notification bell. We're bringing you the raw, unfiltered truth about our beloved Chelsea every single day. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next as we head into a massive clash with Liverpool. Here's what's absolutely baffling me, and I know it's frustrating you lot as well. When Chalobah got sent off, Maresca made substitutions that left every single Chelsea fan scratching their heads. Taking off Neto? Really? When you're down to 10 men, you need your quickest players on the pitch, your best ball carriers who can relieve pressure and give you an outlet. Instead, we brought on Lavia and took off players who could actually help us break Brighton's press. It's the same mistake he made at Old Trafford last week against United. Burley nailed it when he said Maresca had an absolute panic attack with his substitutions. And you know what? He's right. This isn't about being harsh. This is about accountability. We're Chelsea Football Club, not some mid-table side learning how to play football. Yet here we are, folding like a cheap tent every time we go down to 10 men. 2 red cards in 2 matches, 2 complete capitulations. That's not bad luck, that's bad management and a lack of mental fortitude. The comparison with the old Chelsea really hits home, doesn't it? Remember when we had Didier Drogba up front? You could launch the ball up to him with 10 men and he'd hold it up, bring others into play, give us time to breathe and reorganize. João Pedro, brilliant player, but he's not that type. He wants to run in behind, not hold the ball up with his back to goal. We simply don't have the personnel to play this way when we're a man down. What's even more concerning is the mentality issue. These players are young, yes, but at what point do we stop using that as an excuse? They need to learn how to manage games themselves. When I played, and when the legends of this club played, we knew how to grind out results. We knew how to be tough to beat. We'd change formation on the pitch if needed, drop deeper, become more compact. These lads, they just seem to panic and hope the manager sorts it out from the touchline. And let's talk about that Club World Cup nonsense for a second. Yes, lovely, we won it. But as Burley says, that's powder puff football compared to what really matters. The Premier League is our bread and butter. This is where Maresca will be judged, not in some glorified friendly tournament. Liverpool are coming to the Bridge next, and if we perform like this against them, we'll be absolutely demolished. The truth is, we're seeing a pattern emerging that's deeply troubling. Chelsea can't handle adversity. When the game's going according to plan, we look brilliant. But throw in a red card, an injury to a key player, or any unexpected challenge, and we crumble. That's not championship material. That's the mentality of a team that'll finish 6th or 7th and wonder where it all went wrong. Maresca needs to take a long, hard look at himself and his approach. The substitutions have been questionable at best, disastrous at worst. The players need to develop some backbone and learn how to see out difficult situations. And the board? Well, they need to decide whether this project is actually heading somewhere or if we're just spinning our wheels while the rest of the big clubs pull away from us. Bottom line, Blues, blind graphing. We're at a crossroads. We can either learn from these defeats and come back stronger, or we can continue making the same mistakes and watch another season slip away. The choice is Maresca's, but the consequences affect all of us who bleed blue. Let's see what happens against Liverpool, but I'm not holding my breath for a miraculous transformation. This is going to be a long, hard season unless something changes quickly at Stamford Bridge.